Shalom. So the question is, did David eat holy bread on the Sabbath? Let's go to the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 20, and verse 5. It says, And David said unto Jonathan, Behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat, but let me go, that I may hide myself in the field unto the third day at evening. Right? So it's telling you this would be the day before a new month, meaning it is the last day of this month. Right? It would be the last day of the old month, and tomorrow would be the first day of a new month. And he would hide himself for 3 days. And there's one thing I want to point out here. It says, that I may hide myself in the field unto the third day at even. Even means evening. So what is it saying here also is that the evening is not the beginning of the day, because if it was the beginning, then Jonathan would know by default that once the third day, it would be at even. So David would not need to tell him that. So it's showing you the evening is not the starting of a new day. It's a certain time of the day, but not the beginning. And it's the same thing Moses said in Leviticus, to keep a Sabbath from even unto even on the 10th day of the month, right? So if he was saying the same thing, he would need to tell the children of Israel again that keep the Sabbath on the 10th day from even to even. They would already know by default that it is from the even, right? So yes, the day begins at the morning. Now, let's jump to verse 18. It says, Then Jonathan said to David, Tomorrow is the new moon. Again, there at the last day of the old month. And thou shalt be missed, because thy seat will be empty. So he's not going to show up for it, for the feast. The feast is the new moon feast. Remember, new moon is on the seventh day, but it is not a Sabbath. What is the difference? You can cook on new moons. This is why you don't have a preparation day for new moon, but you have a preparation day for all your Sabbaths, right? Now, let's jump to verse 24. It says, So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon was come, the king sat him down to eat meat. So, new moon day, the beginning of the month, right? The king was eating. Verse 27, And it came to pass on the morrow, meaning the day after, which was the second day of the month. Now, notice it says the second day of the month. The second day of the month is the first day of the week, right? Now, let's go to where we are, 27. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Saul said unto Jonathan his son, Wherefore cometh not the son of Jesse to meet, neither yesterday nor today? So he didn't show up on the new moon, which is the first day of the month, and he didn't show up on the second day of the month. Right now, let's jump down to verse 35. And it came to pass in the morning that Jonathan went out in the field at the time appointed with David and a little lad with him. So this is the appointed time, the third day, right? The third day. Now let's jump to 35 again. And it came to pass in the morning that Jonathan went out in the field at the time appointed with David and a little lad with him. So we're going to go now over to 21 and verse 5. And David answered the priest and said unto him, Of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days since I came out. So the key word you want is since I came out. So again, 3 days hiding. New moon day, the day after new moon day, and the third day. Now it says again, let's read it one more time. Verse 5. And David answered the priest and said unto him, Of a truth, women have been kept from us about these 3 days since I came out. So 3 days hiding. Now 3 days since I came out. 1, 2, 3. So that would make it the 5th day of the week, right? The 5th day of the week. So a lot of people think David got the bread, ate the bread on the Sabbath day because the timing when the priests are supposed to change it, right? So remember, there's a preparation before the Sabbath, and then you set it in order on the day of the feast. It's just like you're keeping the Sabbath. The day before your Sabbath, you prepare your bread. But it is the following day on your Sabbath, that's when you put it in order, you put it at the table where you can eat. So there's a preparation, there's a Sabbath, right? Now, to verify when David ate the bread, if it was a Sabbath or if it was a work week, work day, right? Because what we need to understand, if the new moon is a rest day, because the Most High said he rested on the 7th day, so the only day that rest is attributed to is the 7th. It's not like on a Gregorian calendar where you can start you see the beginning of a new month and it's on the Wednesday or Thursday or Tuesday, right? You cannot begin something in the middle. If it's a new month, it has to start from the beginning, right? So let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 12, to verify if this was on the Sabbath day. Matthew chapter 12, it says, But he said unto them, Have ye not read what David did when he was an hungered, and they that were with him? So this is David and his men. How he entered into the house of God, and did eat the shewbread, which was not lawful for him to eat, neither for them that were with him, but only for the priests. Now, remember, when you read the first verse, they were condemning the Messiah for picking the corn on the Sabbath day. So, condemning for one, picking the corn. So, it was quote unquote unlawful thing, right? And they were condemning also for doing unlawful thing on the Sabbath, right? No, if the Messiah used David's situation to deal with something that was unlawful, which is eating the holy bread, right? Then why would he not mention also that he was doing something unlawful on the Sabbath day? Because guess what? He understood that that was not on the Sabbath. And this scripture here in Matthew is in this book for this specific reason, because the Most High knew that they would use this situation to deal with the Sabbath and stuff like that, right? First thing, when you have a rest day, because new moon day is a rest day, it's impossible to have a Sabbath without going through 6 working days, right? From between 2 Sabbaths, there are always 6 working days. Between a new moon and the Sabbath, there are always 6 working days. So if he was hiding from King Saul on new moon day, right? The space of days between here had to be 7 days, right? It has to be 7 days here at the beginning to go back to the next Sabbath, right? You cannot start at the beginning of a month on Wednesday, like in the Roman calendar, right? How do you take some days from this week and merge it with other days from another week? in another month. It's not making any sense. It's not logical. It can only happen on a calendar, right? So when you're dealing with the Most High's calendar, remember, after New Moon Day, you have to go through 6 work days. Then you rest again for the Sabbath. After that Sabbath, you still have to go back through 6 working days. All right? So if you do it both ways, 3 days and 3 days hiding, is still not going to bring you to the Sabbath. All right? So I hope you understand that David did eat the bread, but it was not on the Sabbath day. And let me see if I can find this here. Let's go back around here. Why we think David actually ate that. Right? Let's go to First Samuel again. Chapter 21. Where am I? First Samuel. Chapter 21 and verse 5. Again, it says, let's start at verse 3. Now therefore, what is under thine hand? Give me 5 loaves of bread in mine hand, or what there is present. Now this is where the confusion is. When they read the term, what is under thine hand, it is as if it's saying, okay, the priest has the bread in his hand and is going to change it at that moment because it is a Sabbath day. Under thine hand does not mean literally under, because you don't speak like that. You would say what is in your hand. You know what I mean? So what it is really saying is that that person was in charge of the temple at that time. So whatever was there was under his charge, right? That is what it means. It did not. It was not saying that he literally had the bread in his hands, going to change it, right? But he was responsible for whatever was in the temple. So it's just like a principal at the school. He's responsible for everything that goes on at the school. Same thing with you. If you're looking over the children at the house, you are in that position. So you are in charge. So that is what it actually means. He did not have a bread going to change it at the moment because it was the Sabbath day. And remember, on the Sabbath, you always prepare your foods before, right? Shalom.